Hey there! Today's tutorial is a skull Harley Quinn, inspired by the Suicide Squad movie posters. So if you want to see how I did this, keep your eyeballs here, puddins. I'm starting with a cheap popstar wig that I used in the Emma Frost tutorial with some neon hairspray in the ends to make this recognisably Harley. Then I go over where the bones are, gonna go with Ben Nye Clown White. Face, neck, collarbones, ribs, everything. I also couldn't find a shirt to sacrifice to make a Harley costume, so I'm painting it on, so I used the Clown White cream paint to outline where the white shirt sections are gonna go. Powder the fluff out of that cream paint. Then with red, I outline the top of the shirt so I look a little less weird. Only a little. Now I outline her collar in yellow, because it looked gold in some of the images I could see. Now, outline your scully features. Channeling the poster, I make my nose holes more angular than I do for regular skulls, and make the sockets a heart and a diamond. These are a little bit too big at the Momo, I end up fixing them down the track. As for the teeth, jaw, whatever, I just do the exact same that I normally do for skulls. Go check my skull tutorial for more details. Where the collar and shirt are not, I outline the collar and neck bones. The collarbones are pretty easy, just feel for where they are under your skin. As for the neck and ribs, I find looking at a reference image of a skeleton torso is helpful to get the right shapes. Then I outline all the bones with black Paradise paint. For the sockets, don't completely fill them with black. I go around the outlines with black and then fill and blend in the socket with blue and red. Blue for the diamond side, red for the heart. The poster has these cracks in the eye sockets, so I also added them, but I do have to change my eye sockets so they change later. If you do this, try not to let the socket go past your eyebrow. Then I go over my lids with red and blue shadows to prevent creasing. And I wanted to channel the posters even more, so rather than a plain white skull, I am adding some pinks, greens, purples, yellows and oranges, and all those things that you can see in the poster's background. And I do the same for the neck bones, and while I did them, I fixed my eye sockets so they were smaller. Now time for some shading. Using plain black, I fade out the top of my spine, shade under the collar and the shirt, and anywhere the bones overhang another. The rib bones and spines are further back than the collarbones, so they should be darker too. Then to add definition, I outline these bones with a thin white line of water-activated paint. Now, I don't just use plain black for the skull shading, I shade each side with its corresponding colour and black. So I shade the heart side with pinks and reds, and the diamond side with blues. I'm shading where the cheekbones overlap the lower jaw, and the whole back of the teeth and jaws to make them look a little more 3D. This is similar shading to what I do in the skull tutorial, except that here I do shade around the edges of this skull and I am going to highlight them later. This is a little less realistic, but also more striking, I find. Now the collar. Remember to paint the words backwards as you see them in the mirror. Rather than going straight for it, I outline the letters first with a slightly different yellow shade. Then with dark brown, I outline the text. It's very blocky and rectangular with very little spaces between the lettering. And I don't know if the pudding has a G in it. It probably doesn't, but I did it, so sue me. So the bright yellow doesn't really come off as gold, so I run a brown-orange mix of paint over it to tone down the letters a little, and then I go in and highlight with yellow. Well, it's not really highlighting, it's more just cleaning up the edges here. Now I shade the outer V of my eye and add some liner to feel a little prettier, and I also use that liner to define the cracks in the sockets. And then I outline my teeth with black. As always, if you fuck up, you can go back in with white. And I add some white highlights to make the pudding collar all shiny. I am adding the highlights on the sides of the letters that face the front. Then, really quickly, I highlight and shade the shirt. To be honest, you should just buy a shirt that has 3/4 white sleeves, paint the top with red if you want to do this makeup, and also add all those other little shirt bits. And then I add lashes. Can you guess which ones? Yep. Always Starry Nite from Shadow Lashes. And that can be the tutorial done if you like, but I decided to bring a little more glam with glitter and rhinestones. I did the blue side off camera, but it's exactly the same as the red. First run some lines of shadow from the outer edges of your eye onto the skull. Then add glitter adhesive to your lid and the red streaks. You could add this glitter everywhere in the eye sockets if you want, but glitter is a pain, so the less I use, the better. I used 2 kinds of glitter here, a deeper pink from Star Crushed Minerals called Phantasmic, and a neon pink from Lit called Pretty Hot Pink. Then I dot on some lash glue to adhere some big old chunky pieces of pink glitter. And I am a terrible person and didn't get the chunky glitter edition in frame. And I also add pink rhinestones. And that's it, guys. You're done. With everyone doing an iteration of Harley Quinn, I just had to, man. I just had to. Had to make it my own. Except it's not really my own. But for a movie that had so many skulls featured in its advertising and posters, I really haven't seen many skull versions of the Suicide Squad. Do let me know if you want me to do any of the others. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Stay classy, peeps.
This is a good look for Harley, I reckon. This is what you're going to see in her standalone movie. This hairstyle. Didn't even finish my joke.